Right.
Hi, Kurt and I are so excited to start the new year off right by hosting a brand new episode of Amazing Individuals. Today, we will be talking to the CEO of Special Olympics Illinois and our boss, Pete DelVecchio. Pete took over as the CEO of Special Olympics Illinois a little over a year ago and has been a great asset to this organization. Hi, Pete. Welcome to our show.
Hi, Lisa and Kurt.
All
It's
right,
great to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
absolutely.
Not a problem. So.
Mhm.
Happy New Year to you both.
Happy
And
New
I
Year to
have to
you.
say, you said I'm your boss, but I think it's really the other way around. I think the
I
athlete is
know,
my
but
boss.
you keep us going. So
That's good. Well, I work for you,
yeah.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I should say. We'll talk more about that.
All right. Could you tell our listeners why you wanted to get involved with Special Olympics?
Sure. Well, first off, my whole career has been in the nonprofit sector. So mission-based work is just who I am. And I was having lunch with a friend of mine who had received the job description about the CEO opening at Special Olympics Illinois. And he said, I'm not going anywhere, but you should do this job.
I know
And
I'm working on it.
Not you.
Oh,
right away, I was back in high school. I was, after basketball practice, I would go and lifeguard at the pool. And Easter SEALs would bring their, clients, their residents to the pool. And there was a young man named David. He wanted to go off the diving board in the worst way. And he had a little bit of a physical restriction and he was fairly nonverbal, but it was clear he wanted to go off the diving board. And so I decided I was going to work with him. We were going to make it happen. And so after a couple of weeks, he was able to do it. And then, of course, he just wanted to keep going again and again. And I think that's what it's all about. That's the draw for me is, so often, and you know this all too well, you're told, hey, you're never going to do this. You can't do this. You shouldn't do this. Sometimes parents are told that about their children before they're even born. And so often athletes and people like that young man, David, say, well, tell me what I can't do and I'll show you differently.
mhm.
And that's really what I'm about is working with people to help them, achieve their full potential. And it's really about just the dignity of the person. That's been my whole career. And I think we do that every day at Special Olympics. And I think I saw that, when the job description came out and I wanted to be a part of it.
Well, we're happy to have you. So, and I'm glad you came aboard. So,
Since you became CEO, what has been a couple of your favorite things you have been able to do?
Oh, gosh. I have to start, I think, with the athletic competitions. Um, Last year, I had this one. It was at state basketball. It was a whole weekend of basketball. I was in Normal and both at ISU and Wesleyan where we had tournaments going on, and then also in Champaign where the Unified Champion Schools Championship was happening. And so I was back and forth a couple of times over the weekend, and just had this great experience. There's one athlete was, they were down by 14. There was only like 10 seconds left, but, his teammates fed him the ball and he had missed a couple 3-pointers and then he finally got one with like
Mhm.
10 seconds left. And he was so excited running down the court and everybody in the gym was cheering. And then I think the last 5 seconds expired and then his team ran out and carried him off the
Mhm.
floor. And you'd never know that they lost the game because everyone's just so excited for what was happening and his achievement, and that's been phenomenal. So
Yeah.
that's been my favorite things to do is just kind of be at the competitions and see everybody you know doing their best
Mhm.
on the field, on the court, in the pool. Um, And so that's been a lot of fun. And then there's been a lot of other things, getting to know all of our officers. Kurt, I know you do a lot there in Evanston with law enforcement, torch run.
Yeah.
But they are amazing advocates and supporters for our athletes. So that it's been a lot of fun getting to know them. I got to be a barista. You guys came by to Will's place there in
Oh,
Skokie.
yeah.
And Will's one
Okay.
of our athletes, and has this coffee shop. And being a guest barista, that was my first time. I'm excited to do that again, get more people there. And coming up, I get to go to World Winter Games in Turin, Italy, with our 3 snowshoers and 1 downhill skier. I'm really excited about that. So there's been so many things that I've been able to do that have been just a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's good. So actually, we're gonna have Will and his mom on our podcast. I think next week or the week after. So yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah. So so we're looking forward to talking to them. So, and you did make a great barista, I have to say.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
You did a good
That
job.
was really good.
Could you tell our listeners a little bit about what you do as a CEO, just in case some of them don't know?
Sure. There's a lot of pieces to the job, but mostly I'd say it's about being present. I think to the athlete, especially, in my first year, people getting to know me, just being there to get to know athletes, get to know their families, staff, donors, volunteers, and not only in Chicago, that's where I live, and mostly work out of that office, but across the state, and try to make an effort to get all the way down to Region K. I think I got maybe down there 3 times last year, Region J, East St. Louis, as well as up to Rockford in the western part of the state, and down in Decatur, and trying to be at as many of the competitions as possible. So that's been a lot of the job in the first year, and representing the organization, of course, across state. Just the other day, I was down in Springfield at the state capitol, meeting lawmakers and talking about what we do. And of course, fundraising is a big part. Talking to donors, new donors, finding new donors, and also keeping up relationships with our current donors. That's a major part of the job. Probably for any CEO of a nonprofit, that's probably about half of your job. And then, of course, there's the internal things. How are things working? I have my direct reports, our chief financial officer, our chief operating officer, people from development, people from marketing. We all come together and have our leadership meetings. Last year, we worked together on coming up with a strategic plan for the next 3 years. And that's another major part of my job, really, is keeping that big picture in focus. There's so much of the details day to day. You have to kind of keep your head and your eyes open for, where are we going ultimately? How are we championing inclusion, not only here in Illinois, but, being that representative, across the world.
And also part of your job, you engage with athlete leaders like the 2 of us.
Yes.
So how does athlete leadership help our program? And would you like to see athlete leaders be more involved in meaningful roles? And if so, what would that look like to you?
Yeah, 100%. I think we need even more athlete leadership. We have Michelle Mark took over athlete leadership just a couple months ago, and really excited about the energy that she's bringing to that, and where we're going to go. It was great to be at the Athlete Leadership Academy just back in November, and it's really important. Those trainings, and thank you both for being there. And Lisa, in particular, you helped lead one of the sessions and to kind of educate your peers about what it means to be a leader, not only on the field or on the court, but off the field and off the court, and how you represent Special Olympics to the community. And you help us to bring that message of inclusion, and everybody would much rather hear it from an athlete than hear it from me. Like, I can talk about Special Olympics and our athletes, but it's a totally different thing when athletes speak for for themselves.
Mhm.
And that's why I say, like, I don't work for athletes. I work with you.
Yeah.
You have your own voice, your own power, and my job is just to be there alongside, maybe open doors and create opportunities. And so I think we need to do more and more of that, have more athlete leaders, at various times, whether it's first look for charity or it's been, dinners with the Knights of Columbus, uh, any number of different venues where we have opportunities to speak to groups of people. It's fantastic when we have athlete leaders there doing that. So I'd like to see more of that and more representation of athletes on our board of directors. Working with them as mentors to our board members. We can talk a little bit more about that. They have a great program up in Special Olympics, Wisconsin. But then also our volunteer committees. There's event committees across the state. We'd love to, in addition to our volunteers who staff those, have athletes represented on those committees as well.
And as also part of your job, you also collaborate with other programs, such as like the United States Athlete Leadership Council with me, as well as, just other programs nationwide and international wide. How has that helped you be successful in your job?
It's been great, coming in first year. I didn't come. I've been in the nonprofit world for 30 years, but I didn't come from within Special Olympics into this role. And so it's been a lot about learning the organization and Special Olympics Incorporated and, especially Special Olympics North America. So it's been fantastic to have peers to bounce ideas off of and ask questions about how they do things in other states. Because, while we're a global organization and, we have our general guidelines that we have to comply with, we're really given the freedom to run our affiliate at how we see it fit and meet the needs that are there in our particular state. So it's not a prescribed way of doing things. So it's great to be able to talk with my peers and you find out, different ideas that they have and how they're implementing them. To the one I just talked about or mentioned, up in Wisconsin. So every board member, when they come on, has an athlete who serves as a mentor to them. And the board member commits to, at least going to a practice and, one of their competitions. And then the athlete also commits to, helping to educate that board member about what their life looks like, not only on the field, but off the field. What does their life look like? Do they have a job? And if so, what does that look like? Or if there's other challenges that they navigate, so that their board members have a whole picture of who it is in terms of the athletes that the board and the organization exists to serve. And so I think that's just a great idea. I would love to figure out, like, how do we do more of that? We have athletes on our board, as you know, but in addition, can we have more athletes involved in, as it was stated, mentoring our board members?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know during the athlete leadership training, a lot of athletes had come up to me and asked me, just like not just board wise, but like how they get more opportunities to be kind of like to serve on national committees and like I am, or international roles. So, and I think there's a stepping stone, but I think having more board athletes on the board and and mentoring, and that's one of the things us as the athlete leadership team have talked to Michelle about too, about maybe mentoring more athletes as well to kind of so they're ready to do those jobs. So, um, but here, what is the biggest thing?
What is the biggest thing you have learned over the past year?
I think what I talked about in terms of, you know, Special Olympics being almost like a franchise model, like, you know, here's the basics. If you like McDonald's, like, hey, if you want to have the golden arches over your store, like, here's the things you have to do. But then, hey, it's your restaurant, run it how you see fit. Similar here, you know, so learning, you know, what it means to run Illinois and what's needed here. And again, that best practice sharing, not only from our Great Lakes group that, yeah, Lisa, you've been a part of, but even beyond that, other affiliates, and you know, to implement things like the Center of Excellence that we're working on. That's going to be, you know, across not only the United States but across the world eventually. And you know what needs to be in there, and you know, how are we going to use that tool? Not only athlete registration and the athlete experience, but how we track and keep up relationships with our donors and our volunteers and our coaches. So there's been a lot to kind of wrap my head around in terms of, you know, what's that going to look like? You know, what are we going to need? What are we going to need that platform to look like? So that's one really big example of, you know, something that I've learned this past year.
And then also you mentioned earlier about the strategic plan and, you know, collaborating, we talked about collaborating with other programs, and having us grow. Is one of the ways that you want to grow, would you like to see more like athletes working for Illinois and in meaningful roles, like employed wise or anything like that, or, you know?
Yes, because you know we don't have all the answers,
Right.
and we need to be able to interact with athletes and understand challenges in different ways that we can grow and strengthen our program. What better way than to have you know, athletes, you know, as part of, you know, our team, our staff team, and we do have some, and we have to be, you know, ready. We have to have our staff ready and prepared to have athletes on staff and how they'll work together. So I'm looking forward to working on that more this year with you, Lisa. I know that's a passion of yours as well, and something that you've been working on. I've talked to some of my colleagues in Rhode Island and other places where they have athletes on staff, and what that looks like. So there's a lot of good models out there for us to draw on in terms of if there's accommodations or anything that's needed to make sure that, you know, athletes that do come on are, you know, meet with success. So there's a lot that we're trying to figure out and navigate so that we can have more athletes part of our team.
That's good news. Not only because I just know that when we when we were in DC, we were talking at the after party actually, after we met the president, that you know, we were talking to some of the people that we know, and they had said that we're trying to really, you know, become more of an athlete led, you know, organization. So and I think that's one of the reasons why it's a passion of mine, is just because, you know, I feel like the decisions that are being made, you know, ultimately affects us. So, you know, we should probably have more of a voice or whatever, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. And you mentioned you're visiting the president. Congratulations again, by the way, on your being selected to be on that trip. That sounded like an amazing time. But that's, you know, you're able to do that, you know, to the, you know, what many would say the most powerful person in the world. You get to be with and talk about Special Olympics, what it means to you, what it's meant for your life, and the important role that we play. So kudos to you for being part of that.
Well, thank you. It was a good time. So, and normally it's just nice that he was able to share it with me, because normally he doesn't go on trips like that with me. So it was helpful that he was able to. He beat out my mom for that trip. So
I'm sure your mom wasn't too happy about that.
no, she was actually fine. She knew that he probably wanted to go anyway.
Yeah.
So it actually worked out, right? Yeah.
That's good. Glad it worked out.
I got to shake his hand 3 times.
Excellent.
So
Good for you.
And I told him that I read his book. It's the I'm not it's the Biden book, but it's in like
It's
there's
a
a blue
blue.
cover.
Okay.
I'll have to let you borrow it. I'm already done with it. It's
Yeah.
really good.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just back to you to talk about collaboration,
Yeah.
and really is important because other people wrestle with similar things, and we can kind of together come to what's the best way that we can do this and move things forward. So
Oh, most definitely.
collaboration is key, not only with other programs, but even within our program. All the different people that make up the Special Olympics Illinois family.
Hmm.
We all work together.
Yeah, most definitely. So,
Mhm.
when you're not working, what is one thing you like to do? I mean, you're constantly
Especially
working, but
I travel a lot. I look back. I spent, I think, over 50 nights in hotels last year, and I drove around the state about 20,000 miles. So it's a lot of time away. So when I'm home, I like to spend some time with my wife, Jackie, and our kids are all grown now. Our youngest is 18. And so it's more just she and I and our two dogs. So
Mhm.
we like to spend time with them. A lot of hiking, walking. We live not too far from Lake Michigan, so walking on the beach there or swimming. That's when I have the time. I'd love
Yeah.
to be with her and what our family looks like now.
Mhm.
oh, what is one thing?
What is one thing that people may not know about you?
One thing, well, I gave away the barista one, but barista now. I know I'm the youngest of six children, and I'm a transplant to Illinois. I grew up in Massachusetts, about 30 miles west of Boston, and so but have been here now 31 years, so longer than I've lived anywhere else.
Mhm.
So newish to Illinois, but really loving it here. Love Chicago, love the state, and getting around the whole state.
Mhm.
Um,
So I know you had mentioned that you were going to go to Torino. So unfortunately, he's going to miss our polar plunge because that is during that time.
oh no.
But
That's all right.
are you going to end up doing any this year?
Yes. Each year I'll plunge with the board of directors. And so this year we're going to be at Rock Cut State Park up near Rockford
Mhm.
in Region A. So for sure I'll be doing that one. And then the Super Plunge is back this year.
Yep.
Going to be held at Wally's at the road stop off of I-55.
Yep.
Mhm.
And we have First Look for Charity that Friday when it starts. So I won't be at the start of the Super Plunge, but I'll probably get down there about 1 or 2 in the morning and cheer people on, and I'm sure I'll end up plunging at some point in the middle of the night. So at least those two, but I'm looking to do probably a couple others.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, we've been to First Look before. We went last year, didn't we?
Yep.
Or 2 years ago. It's a funny event. Is it your second First Look, isn't it? Or is it your first?
Yes. Yeah, it'll be my second.
Second one. Okay. Okay. Hopefully you'll have a great time and you'll enjoy it. So, because we usually try to go if we go to First Look, then he has me look and see what the celebrities are that are going to be there all week for the auto show. And then if it's somebody somebody you want, then
Mhm.
he makes sure that we get there like 2 hours early just to make sure he can get their autograph.
Yeah.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Yep.
So, well, thank you, Pete, for talking to us today. We really appreciate it. I know that you have a busy schedule, so thank you, for
you're
taking the time out.
Mhm.
more than welcome. I'd love to do it again sometime. And I really appreciate all that you do for the community. You're on so many committees and represent so many things, and you show up not only for your local team there in Evanston, but so many other places representing the state nationally and internationally. So thank you for that and for the service that your podcast does for the community.
Well, thank you. So,
Mhm.
so that wraps up another episode of Amazing Individuals. We hope you enjoyed our show today, and you could say before we go.
Before we go, we would like to remind everyone that you can listen and watch more great episodes wherever you listen to your podcast, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And we look forward to bringing more great episodes. And just remember that people with intellectual disabilities can accomplish whatever they want with the right supports.